Ladies and gentlemen, round 6 of 7 of the Simrigs Sprint Series takes us to the Nurburgring. North America's turn is now. Hello everybody, my name is Nick Mo, and I want to welcome you to tonight's broadcast. Drivers already out on track, getting their practice session finished up here. But yes, round 6 of 7, one more to go this season before all the cars go back into the garage for a well-deserved break. We're going to be at Kyalami next week, a fan favorite in the community for the Super Sprint format. I hadn't had that since the beginning of the season. We'll go over that next week, of course, but looking at some very exciting action here tonight. So taking a look back last week's event at Silverstone, it was Gulzar, Harder, and Brook, your top three, of course. Briscoe, Thompson, Johnson, the three best from the Pro-Am category, and then Mahoney, Wicks, and Raworth for the amateur class. Now, big shout-outs to Glenn Germain. He has been hard at work in the background getting the standings page all sorted out. We haven't had it for, I think, the last 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, but we finally have it here, so we got some numbers that we can sort of throw your way. So the top three overall, it is Gulzar, Lovrink, and Flomger. Those are also the top three drivers in the Pro category. And then for Pro-Am, Fernandez 4th overall, Clifford and Sanchez. And then for amateur, it's Parity, Wicks, and Dale. Now the points for Gulzar, 657 compared to Lovrink's 521. So 136 points is the difference. Gulzar has been on an absolute tear this season. Race after race, just really showing that his little Porsche, it can go. It doesn't matter the track. It seems like he's got everybody's number, and that is why he's sitting at the top of the standings. Like I said, Flomger 521, or Lovrink 521. Flomger a solid 400 for him, and then down into the Pro-Ams. Car number 88, Fernandez, is 388 points. Little fun fact there. Clifford has 345, so the battle for top of Pro-Am still very much ongoing. And then Sanchez, that 271. He's 11th overall compared to Clifford, who's 7th, and Fernandez 4th. So it's going to need a bit of a miracle if he wants to overtake Clifford for P2, or Fernandez if he wants to win it for the top of Pro-Am. And then the amateur class, Parity has 74, Wicks with 62, Dale with 46. So that one's still very much ongoing as well. It's only a 12-point difference between Parity and Wicks here, and as we go through practice, Wicks has bested Parity right now. About 2/10 is the gap that he's working with to hold on to P16, and then Mahoney down there in 19th, Raworth down in 22nd. Craig Dale, I do not believe, is here tonight. No, Craig Dale, that's Steve Davis, excuse me. No, Craig Dale is not present tonight. Not a good look for him, but he's got real life stuff going on. Welcome in, George and BG. Yeah, the OR is manning the food stands. Fairly certain that it's Mullock there, so make sure you swing on by and give him a little bit extra money. You know how much he loves that. And no, I am not related to the race driver named Chris Amon. I had no idea that was even a person. I did not know that there was a race car driver with the same last name. Now I'm going to pretend like I am, so thank you. Who knows? Maybe I'll replace him if the team gets desperate enough for a new driver. Speaking of new drivers, though, Fabio Pital from Brazil joining us in the Bentley. Very beautiful looking livery. If we actually look out the back, hashtag Bentley 100 years. So the manufacturer recently celebrating its 100-year anniversary. Of course, a lot of these cars, manufacturers as well, been around for quite a while. But that is the only new addition, very late in the season, but rated as a pro driver. So despite only showing up for this race and possibly the next, he is rated quite high. He was not here last week, even though he was on the attendance sheet, and I believe the week before that. And he actually does have, it looks like this is more of a team car. So I'm seeing some other names on the side, so we're actually going to see if he does, or who those names are, as we go into the free cam here. Kane, Junan, and Pepper. So this may be an actual real-life livery. Looks like it. Very nice, though. Very good-looking stuff. But yeah, the only new addition here for North America. Obviously, the return of Fabio. Yep, number 9, the return. It only took him 6 rounds to get back, but boy, how does he get back in time. Welcome in, Tommy, of course. But yeah, still 4 minutes to go here in qualifying. Flomger up top, surprisingly, in the Mercedes, although this is home territory for the German manufacturer. 54.9. Earlier today, we did have the EU split, and we did see a 50, or might have barely seen a 53 pop in there. But Flomger's still quite a ways off. Gulzar gonna just sidestep him and go into the 54, the mid-54s, so we're getting faster just here at the end. Clifford right now, just a second off the pace of 55, 53 for him, coincidentally, last lap. This track is, had a lot of action. Spencer Brown, name I don't recognize, could be a possible new addition that I'm not aware of. But no, we saw in the earlier race today, the Audi actually very strong, especially out of the final corner. We were seeing Vinogradov, who is a Russian driver, would get such a great exit out of that first corner, or out of that final corner, and just carry that speed all the way down, even if there was someone behind. And what would be considered a faster car than the Audi, even with the slipstream, wasn't able to catch up. Vinogradov winning that race by 17 seconds. And even with that 5-second penalty, it really didn't matter. He just got around the 2 Hondas behind of Rumbouts and Vining and just left it there. The 2 Bentleys, a little bit of miscommunication there between Rasko and Pitts-Hall. Rasko probably thinking that the is letting him on through, so I'm sure they're discussing that right now. Or no, sorry, that's not Rasko. That is... no, it's not. Who was that? I believe... oh, it was Mahoney, actually. In the very nice, questionably colored Bentley. I need to double check. No, it doesn't work. Okay. Steve Davis, of course, joining us from Australia. P3. This man is consistently within the top 10, if not top 5, it seems like, in practice and qualifying. Very good results here this season. Showing us exactly how you do it. And if I'm not mistaken, should be roughly anywhere between, I think, 9 a.m. and noon, or 8 a.m. and noon down there. Time zones are always fun. But he is swinging up there with Flomger and Gulzar. Gulzar hasn't gone on to improve, actually. 52.28 for him, so really showing that he is going to be setting the bar, especially what I would assume in qualifying. Although we are going to stick here with Flomger, as he is on an improvement. It won't be enough to overtake, of course. It's only about 0.3, but could possibly get a lot closer. Davis also on an improvement, half a second. So it won't, if he was to cross the line now, it would put him a bit ahead of Flomger, but of course Flomger has just gained a couple tenths, very shaky out of that chicane, has lost it. But he still has qualifying to go through, and he's going to have another flying lap here. 12 noon in Queensland, 11 in Sydney and Melbourne. Well, there you go. It's morning and midday down there. Now we've had some discussions with the Australian commentators whenever I've popped into chat. I think not the last round of F1, but I think the round before, whenever they were at Saudi Arabia. Was commented that, looking at about noon, some people actually do pop in to the chat during these races from Australia. 1 p.m. in Sydney and Melbourne. Okay, well, I don't know. Do you think I run on Australian Eastern Daylight Time? No, I run on Eastern Standard because I don't have a choice. That's where I'm at. But Brian Rasko here into the last corner. Half a second improvement. This would put him... actually, where would this put him? Just above Skeptura, and I believe Colin Johnson. Actually, he won't improve. I think that last lap was actually invalidated. But still very good pace. And speaking of Skeptura, here he is through the chicane. Now the chicane here we saw take a couple of lives during the EU race. It's important to get as close to the inside as you can without clipping those sausage curbs. Unless you're me and you just send it and hope for the best regardless. But that'll be somewhere to look. Skeptura right up to P7. Hell of an improvement. Coming all the way down from quite a ways on the grid. Andrew Wilson right now. 53 or 57.23 nets him P19 at the moment. But we'll see if he moves on up. He's 2/10 above his previous best. So that would put him just barely into the 59s, or 56s. So he would go right over parity for P19, possibly Darren Wicks if he can squeak out another 10th or so. The McLaren really struggles out of these slower corners, especially through the Mercedes arena. Very slow complex, 2, 3, 4 is where this car is really going to struggle. So it's about just getting on the power as soon as you can. And that'll be Wilson's plan as he does go ahead of parity for P19. And I believe we have one more person out on track. No, we don't. Oh, no, Tadas Lutkes in the BMW. Real talent, indeed, as he does not set a time. But it doesn't matter. We go forward into qualifying. 28 cars tonight. Quite a lot. Compared to EU, I think we had about 21. And who is that out? 998. That is none other than Jonathan Clifford. Always the first one out. Always the first one out for North America. He does not care. I feel like he's sitting there in the server browser just refreshing it until the Sprint Series server pops, and then he joins immediately, so he gets the best pit box. A shrimp on the bobby, and he drinks a Budweiser to get into the North American mood. Why would you drink Budweiser? That is gross. Think of a few others you can probably have. Oh goodness, I have good old water. One of these days I'll do just do shots on stream. But here in qualifying, and as these drivers come out for their out laps before they finally get into the swing of things, of course we got to give a quick shout out and thanks over to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 11 of the Sprint Series. If you're looking to upgrade or maybe get your rig started and you just happen to live in Australia, New Zealand, well, they've got you covered. This Melbourne-based company has quite the selection of equipment for you to use. If you're a Patreon member, of course you get 5% off all of your in-store purchases. Sim racing equipment is not cheap by any means, so I highly suggest you use that. And if you're like me and you live outside of those little island countries, well, I say little, Australia is about as big as the US, you can send them an email, work something out, they'd be glad to do business with you. But again, thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 11 of the Sprint Series. Get back in. Jonathan Clifford right now getting through this final chicane, so we'll see what he can do as we'll ride on board here. Taking a little bit of extra road. Slightly different line, very late apex for the Lamborghini driver. So, on to the first flying lap of what we can assume to be a good handful here. So as you come down, you're looking at about the 100 board, onto the brakes, all the way down to first gear. Really throw it in the middle, or the very inside corner of the first turn apex is where you want to be. You get on the outside, it's really difficult. Here through turn 2, you don't want to send it too far on the inside. There's not a lot of grip there. The green on the left side leading into turn 3 can be very, very slippery. Turn 4, you're looking at about a second gear corners, running it as wide as you can. Very easy to run wide. This corner here, you're running down to about second. Some people go for third depending on who you are. Second down as you head towards the Dunlop corner. It's a nice downhill left. Now this corner here, some people treat it as a double apex, some people treat it as a single apex. Jonathan Clifford doing just that, sticking to the inside. So we'll see what the different lines are like as this race, or as qualifying rather, develops into Schumacher. Slight lift as you get into it. You're not quite downforce heavy as F1 cars, so again, that slight lift is going to help you on through. 100 meters, 75 depending on the car. Clifford just drifting it through here. Now onto this very easy right-hander. Simon Bauer talked about that corner can be a little bit tricky, especially in the wet, but thankfully it's looking rather dry here in Germany. Just hook it up with the apex nicely. Now you get towards the chicane. Braking points are a little different, but 50 is going to be Clifford's choice. You can see just how much he's throwing it along the inside. There's a little patch of dead grass that a lot of drivers use as a brake point. You can send it in late and really hook up with a late apex and power down to the final corner. Again, as wide as you dare. And across the line, Clifford's benchmark at 55.24. That is going to be what everybody else has to beat. Still 11 minutes to go here in qualifying. Oh, JC. What a great pun of my last name that I've never heard of. How are you doing? Welcome, and welcome to ACC Manager. Good job earlier in your EU race. EU Sprint started from the pits. Some good racing action so far with how OR had great races. Yep, of course. That's what this lovely organization does advertise. Great job earlier, of course. And hopefully you're getting ready for Kyalami. I'm sure the rest of you guys getting ready to round out the year. We just had our 9-hour event recently at the amazing and well-liked South African circuit. A huge favorite among the community, myself included. It says such a great flow. The turns are very nice. Incredible battles, too. It's quite insane what you can pull off over the course of a race. And we saw that, of course, with the 9-hour. Gary's recommended it to me. Oh, the organization or the track. If it's both, then good. But yeah, Clifford, long time driver here in the Sprint Series. I remember when he joined, he was just a little amateur class driver and has been doing an incredible job just getting himself up into the Pro-Am category. Fabio Pitol right now, P19, a 57.60, as I think he invalidated his lap. So I'll have to figure that one out. Eduardo Sanchez here in the Weeb machine. 56.41 invalidated lap, so technically the lap is not counted. Ronan Mendina joining us quite late. He's usually here well before everything starts up, so he'll be trying to get out there. Hamza Golzar, your season leader, and I would not be surprised if he secures the win by the end of the race here tonight. Has also not set a lap. On top, though, it is Wilson Fernandez in the BMW of 54.90. So one of three drivers to break into the 54s as Flamger, 54.5 seconds. Lovrink as well of 54.97 out of the final corner. Looks like a little bit of an excursion there as he does not improve. 56.15 is his last, 54.97. And Hamza Golzar telling me to shut up, a 53.79. We did not see a lap that quick in EU. Hamza Golzar, an absolute weapon with this portion. It is, I can't even be surprised. Almost a full second ahead, or sorry, 3/4 of a second ahead of Flamger. Incredible stuff from him. Fan of the Nurburgring and recommended to OR to you. Look at that. Amazing. ACC Manager, big facts. It's actually funny you should be here because ACC Manager, very good plugin actually for this game. It gives you some very useful stats, especially damage to the car, and it shows you where that damage is exactly. So if you've ever been curious, ACC Manager, definitely would recommend that one to you. I've used it a little bit. Not much, though. I've not been doing a lot of sim racing recently. I'd like to, though. As we continue on to qualifying, so let's see who's on an improvement right now. Brian Rasco, P16 for the boat. 55.97. Barely enough to be within the 55s. He's half a second up, so this would put him almost into the top 10. He does have to find a couple of tenths, though, to push Sanchez out. Sanchez with a 55.33. And then Clifford with a 55.01. Pierce with a 55.04. So 300ths between them. Now the final corner, Rasco goes. He's only got 4 tenths now. I think he was just barely up. And yeah, just outside that top 10, a 55.59. So he's got a little bit of work to do. Back to the pits. Maybe make a few setup changes. Rona Medina still in the pits. Sam Raworth in Scuderia Forterari. So, like, the best liver I think I've seen here. It looks so good. So well made. I might have to actually ask him for that, because I want to... Actually, I don't need to ask him for it. I already have it. Because every week we get updated livery packs from Glenn, and you just, you know, copy-paste those. You're good to go, so I can use this whenever I want, but then I have to let go of my lovely little Honda and pick up a Ferrari. Not that I'm complaining. But Raworth has yet to set a valid lap, it looks like. Yeah, he's the only driver, apart from Rona Mendina, of course, to have not set a lap. I don't know if this one is valid or not. Let's actually use the basic HUD. No, it is not, so Raworth still has to find a lap that stays within the lines. But Hamza Gulzar back out, still at 53.79. Just a statement being made. Flomger struggling to catch up as he's getting ready to start another flying lap here. I think Gulzar might be able to just take this start and I'll just get it done. Steve Davis through Schumacher finds himself about a 10th up, so we'll keep an eye on that as we look towards Keith Briscoe right now, P9 in the BMW. Minute 55.15. 2/10, 3/10. The broadcast controller can't really decide what it wants, but what it is going to decide is that he is good enough for P6, a 54.88, about 800ths off of Loverink. Very solid run. Flomger does not improve. 3:27.51, so now he is going to be on this flying lap here. Improvements, we see Steve Davis crossing the line here just now. Does improve 54.56. Not enough, though, to overtake Fernandez. Still about 2/10 he's got to work with to get into the top three. Surprisingly, Flomger and Fernandez, the exact same time, a 1 minute 54.497 for both of them. 3/10 gap down, or sorry, not 3/10, rather, 65 thousandths between them and Davis. Interesting. I believe Flomger got it first, so the game will give him that position. We've got some very solid times. Flomger not improving, though. He's running about even with himself. So struggling to find the same pace that Gulzar did. Thomas Pierce, P9, a 55.04. 3/10 up. Would put him in the top 5. Just barely, though. Loverink, that 54.80. This would be a 54.7. Especially as he heads up to the chicane. It's very important you get this right. He's braking right at that 50, really throwing it over as close to the inside as he can, right up on the curb, just after that little dead patch of grass. Aston Martin really got to manage the turbo lag on this car. Can just kill your lap times. And as he crosses it, is P5, does push Loverink out by about 2/10 of a second. Loverink, although is out on circuit, is improving 2/10, so he could take this back easily. Although, if he can find a couple of hundredths, he would take that P5 right back from Pierce. A very good showing for the Ferrari. Based on the decimals we can't see, not who does it first. Well, the decimals are exactly the same. Right down to the thousandth. They're the same. Flomger, though, 3/10 up, possibly could not get any closer. He needs, what is that, 7/10 of a second to catch up to Gulzar? I mean, that's just ridiculous. Cannot even believe. Did Loverink just go wide? He might have. Goes up to P2, a 54.49. 5 thousandths ahead of Flomger and Fernandez. Flomger, though, just about a 10th up right now. Could completely rain on the parade of Loverink here. And behind him, I believe that is Matteo Scaptura. No, it is not. That is the BMW of Dave Hasser. But Flomger, let's see what he can pull off. So he heads through the chicane, gets it nicely. A little later on the brakes there for the Mercedes. Through the final corner we go. And crosses the line into P2. Loverink getting pushed down. Now the gap is about 3/10. Loverink is not improving at the moment. Who is improving is Wilson Fernandez, and as I say that, cuts it really close on the inside. You can see what happens when you get a little too eager and you run over those sausage curbs. Off the track you go. So that lap was actually looking very, very good. That would have been possibly a P2 start for the Brazilian, but he's got to do it all over again. as he heads down the front straight into turn number 1. You go further than 1,000th true. That's just under a minute to go, so for a lot of these drivers, this is it. They have to find the time now. Thomas Dagg in the Audi, really not finding any time right now. Still with that 55.55, crosses the line at 55.58. Does have another shot, though, so could find himself a little higher up on the grid towards the end of qualifying. Everybody else just starting a lap, although Gulzar, if I told you guys he was on an improvement, would you believe me? It's it's not surprising. He's 2/10 up through the chicane. I mean, this man has... You'd think he built this circuit himself with just how quick he is. He just gained 2/10 out of the final chicane, so where's this going to be? This is going to be a mid-53, 53.45, and he catches the checkered flag right as it drops. Flomger, you're 2/10 up. That's great. You're going to maybe possibly punch a 53, but it's going to be a lot to ask. Does not do it. Misses out 300ths. A 54.03. It's still a little over half a second, though, up to Gulzar. Wilson Fernandez right now, 4/10 up. Has a fellow BMW. I believe that's Lutkis in front of him. It doesn't look like it, actually. Maybe Parody. No, not Parody. It can't be. It's cart number 11. That's Lamelin. Fernandez up into P3, overtaking Pierce with a 54.1. Very solid time. Loverink here. Final lap. At 10th up. And Riddle, of course. Got to give shout-outs. ACC, very tight-knit community. Got to have those useful apps thrown out there. If you think of the demon from Ghostbusters, maybe he's a demon behind the wheel. Absolutely. He is blisteringly quick. 136 points is the gap he has to this driver right here in the standings. And that is Loverink going up into P4, but Loverink overall is P2 in the points. Goals are, of course, on top. And I can't really say we're too surprised, but Keith Briscoe looks like the last one here is going to go up into P7, just overtaking Carpenter there with a 154.76. But your top 5 goals are Flomger, Fernandez, Loverink, Pierce. Can't say I am too surprised to see that from Gulzar, of course. Incredibly talented driver, week in and week out. And you gotta be honest, we love it. He is... I can't even begin to tell you just how much this guy scares me. But we are going to take a nice stroll, of course, through the grid as always here at the start of these races. Take a nice look at the field and, you know, look at the standings. Look at who's where. Oh, wrong button, no. But we'll see what's going on here as we take the second, or not the second to last, rather the third to last walkthrough of this grid. So it's Gulzar with an absolutely criminal time, and then Flomger joins him on that front row. Fernandez, Loverink, 3 and 4. Pierce, Davis, 5 and 6 for them. It's Keith Briscoe in P7. Carpenter joining alongside him, and then Sanchez and Lamelin make it into the top 10. Clifford starts us in the next 10 drivers, P11, and then it's Thompson, Brown, Johnson, Dagg. That is 12 through 15. Very nice looking livery there for car number 14. And then it's going to be Rasco in the Bentley, followed by Skaptura, Lutkis in the BMW, Wilson, Frizza, Baba Let's Go. So good to see that Kevin Parody, who is currently P22's livery, has loaded. Beautiful thing. Eric Mahoney down in P23. It's Wicks, Hasser, Pitol, Raworth, and Ronan Mendina not putting a lap in during qualifying, so he's going to be starting from the back. And then, of course, we have the amazingly made Simrigs safety car, of course, being the Chevrolet. Part of the America Track Pack DLC. Lovely, lovely stuff. But drivers are going to be getting ready here to take to this amazing German circuit. Ladies, check out Dave Hasser's livery, why don't you? We got an hour ahead of us for the action here tonight. Drivers getting off the jack, so we are definitely within that 30-second window. Hit start, where you are going to be starting from the pit lane. That is never good. We did see that in the EU race, of course. That was more due to driver nerves rather than absent-mindedly forgetting you're in the driver's seat. But I think we're going to be in for a treat here tonight. A lot of drivers here this evening. Familiar faces up front, some surprising faces making it into the top 10, of course. So the safety car zooming on by, and the rest of the field will surely follow as we get ready for this formation lap here. It's the Nurburgring, not quite the Nordschleifer, but still a fan favorite here in ACC. And of course, quick thank you again over to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 11, and I'm sure they'll be with us for quite a while down the line. As always, you know what they're about, all the equipment you would ever need. And you can bet that they're going to give you some pretty good prices. Get back out on track, though, for this formation lap. Galzar really just wants to get things going here. He does not want to waste any time at all. He knows that he is going to be one of the quicker drivers and wants to show it. Now, there will be a mandatory pit stop during this race. That pit window opening 5 minutes after the race starts and closing 5 minutes before race ends. So you got 50 minutes to make your pit stop. One of the drivers we saw, Daniel Hearn, in the EU race, stayed out for a long time. Aston Martin, of course, very, very good at managing tires. So he did not pit for, I can't remember when exactly he pit, but ended up in, I believe, P4 by the end of it all. So very good result from him. We'll have to see if a driver like Thomas Pierce, also in the Aston Martin, can do something similar. Perhaps he saw the broadcast earlier and wants to maybe replicate that. So we head through Schumacher here. See all the cars piling on through, getting ready to line up 2 by 2 on this circuit. The safety car, of course, has peeled away, flashing lights. Hello, safety car. Good to see you, as always. But ladies and gentlemen, cars have been instructed to line up, actually, quite a ways back. This is well before the chicane. I don't think this happened in EU. But we are looking at sunshine for at least the next 30 minutes. Some clouds, though, surprisingly. EU did not have a single cloud in the sky. Possible weather, who knows? I'm sure we've all seen the footage of the Nordschleifer with snow at one point, but we don't have that luxury in this game. I don't know if you'd call it a luxury or not, depending on how you look at it. But come here out of the final corner onto the front straight. Galzar, an absolute monster of a lap. Flomger couldn't even get close to him. And it's Fernandez, Lovering, Pierce, Davis, Briscoe, Carpenter, Sanchez, Lamela in your top 10. The rest follow through. It's green, green, green. And it's a really good start. A bump already coming out there from Pierce on to Fernandez. Thankfully able to keep it together as we head down into turn number 1. Galzar already got an amazing jump and is going to stick to the inside. Lovering has to move over. Thought about a dive down the inside, but thinks better of it. We see some 3 and 4 wide in the background, but drivers are keeping it neat and tidy right now. It is going to be Carpenter having to deal with Briscoe, not Briscoe, it's Pierce, who makes contact and spins around and just collects the rest of the field. And drivers having to duck and dodge to get out of the way. Thomas Pierce from P5 all the way down to the very back of the grid. Not the start he wanted. But we carry on racing. The safety car stays in the pit lane, has not been called out. Galzar, you can see the gap he's already making. Has not quite made quite the gap we're familiar with from this guy, but there is still an hour to really show what he can do as he heads down into Dunlop. Galzar, Flomger, Fernandez, your top 3. And the rest of the field following suit. We do see some very close racing down into this turn, so it looks like everybody's really sticking to the inside, not really running it out wide and treating it like a double apex. Now into Schumacher we go. This is going to get a little bit interesting. We can see a lot of carnage here, especially when you really start pushing it. You get onto that gravel just a little bit. And the car, speaking of cars that are around, that is Eduardo Sanchez at the exit of the Schumacher S. If I had to bet on it, probably got a little bit too friendly with the inside, grabbed some gravel and spun out. Doesn't look like there's too much damage on the McLaren, although the hood bobbing a little bit, so front end damage definitely going to be affecting the performance there. Yeah, he's not getting the most out of the McLaren, and he's already coming under attack. That, I believe, is Ronan Medina just blazing up by him. Yeah, there's the front end. There's the hood popped of the McLaren, but Gulzar leading at the end of the first lap, and then Flomger and Loverank in hot pursuit. Davis, Fernandez, Lamelin, 3 BMWs, and Briscoe 4 make it as we head down to turn 1. Fernandez making a dive down the inside onto Davis. There's a bump there. Doesn't get the move done quite yet, though, as we head through the Mercedes arena. Look at how close these guys are. Very slow set of corners, very technical, but they're able to make it work. As Davis pulls back out in front of Fernandez, has to settle back in. You can see Clifford there in the background just waiting to trample over these BMWs should the chance arrive. Tadas Lutkis, speaking of BMWs right now, leading ahead of Dag in P12. Could be seeing a lot of shuffling as things carry on. Kevin Parody, another BMW. Seems like no matter who I click, they're going to be in a BMW. P22 for car number 23. Thompson behind, though. Thompson Pro-Am driver. Stuck behind the tortoise of Parody. And yes, it is a tortoise or a turtle. Either way, it scares me, and I don't like it. But he has it, and he loves to know that it bothers me in such a way, but also kind of grows on me. But a very good start overall. We've had a couple of spins, and some of them have led to disastrous consequences, Sanchez being one of them. Is not pitted yet. Thomas Pierce, though, really got the worst of it. Got spun around right at the start. Got run into by somebody else, and, well, at that point it was over. Keith Briscoe, or sorry, not Keith Briscoe, Wilson Fernandez, again, really cutting it over the inside. That's what happened to his qualifying lap, and it's going to happen here again as he just loses that position. Lamelin slips back ahead of him. Hamza Gulzar picking up the fastest lap there, 54.3. I don't think we're done quite yet from the Canadian. Brian Rasco has a little bit of a situation. You do see the McLaren there of Wilson, and then it's door-to-door action there for Mahoney and Babaletsgos as we head down into turn number 1. Babaletsgos on the inside is going to brake early, though, just going to let the Boat Leon through. Almost into the rear end there goes Mahoney. Rasco staying ahead. Wilson doing what he can. Of course, some of these higher speed corners is where this McLaren really does shine. Has a lot more downforce comparatively to these Bentleys, but these slower corners here, that's where this McLaren is really going to start struggling and is going to make things very, very difficult, especially in terms of overall acceleration and top end. This is where we're going to possibly sit. Darren Wicks, though, down in P23, has been losing some time, so he was ahead of Parody at one point, and Thompson. Not quite certain what happened there. Very sleek looking Porsche, though. I'm a big fan of that livery. Down in P23, though, behind him, Pitol, a debutant in the Sprint Series. Hope to see him again next season in a month's time. So we see everybody filing on through. There's Ronan Medina as well, slowly fighting his way through the field. We had a similar situation in EU. Chris Vining spun out very early on and then just went on a tear, cleaning the field out and getting all the way up, I believe, into the podium position. He was on track to get a P2, but a couple of mistakes in the final set of laps put him back. Loverank, Loverank spins at the exit of the chicane. I'm not certain what happened there, and it looks like Loverank going into the pits. Is this the early Super Mega Ultra undercut? Oh, geez. So he gets wide, I'm assuming on the exit there of the chicane, and then just gets punted around and decides, you know what, I'm already here, I might as well go into the pit lane. That is not where you want to be. That was the BMW of, I believe, Lutkis? No, it wasn't Lutkis. It had to have been... I think it was Davis. Yeah, it was Davis. The unmistakable red, white, and black BMW. And you can't see it right there on the front bumper. Just scratched up from the contact. Thankfully able to carry on Sanchez into the pit. Johnson into the pit, surprisingly. Very early on here. May have been involved with the that incident with Thomas Pierce, that head-on collision. But this little three-pack of BMWs, Davis, Lameland, Fernandez, Briscoe, a little too far back to really have any sort of say in the matter. Davis trying to find any sort of time he can. He's got to worry about Lameland. Gets a little bit onto the bumps. Almost skipping into the rear end of the number 5. Very good showing here right now for Davis, really keeping it together. You do see Flomger and Gulzar just up ahead. Gulzar about to head through that final chicane right now. What a gap he's already pulled out. It is 2 seconds. Lameland, I feel like he was probably thinking about a move down the inside, decides better of it as Fernandez bounding over the corners there. And onto the front straight. Lameland's opened up a little over a second back to Fernandez, who has had a bit of trouble shaking off Briscoe. Clifford as well, sort of stuck in limbo in P7. Brian Rasco into the pits early on here. So we'll see what happens there. I think I just saw Fabio Patal in there, yes, as well. So these are very early pit stops. Drivers perhaps thinking this super extreme undercut is the way to go. Lovering, that pit stop is cleared. Same with Johnson and Sanchez. Andrew Wilson, P14 for him, has Eric Mahoney and Bobby Babaletsgos behind 15 and 16 respectively. Oh, is that damage on the front of Babaletsgos' car? No, that's just how a Mercedes looks. Dave Hasser in P17. He's got Parody and Thompson, who are actually doing a little bit of battle here. It's Parody that comes out on top of that one. We need some side-by-side action. But for Dave Hasser, that's exactly what you want. Drivers battling, and that gives you a chance to pull away. Up ahead, that is Andrew Wilson, still feeling the pressure from Mahoney, who does look to the inside here at Dunlop, trying to spook the McLaren off the corner, and it actually kind of works as Wilson goes wide onto the marbles, able to keep it together though, but now it's door-to-door here as we head up to the chicane. Who is going to back out first? It is going to be Wilson, deciding that he is going to live another day, but that has invited Babaletsgos into the party, as he is going to be looking down the inside. He is going to break alongside. Doesn't get the move done, surprisingly. I thought he would have had it right alongside, but perhaps a moment of better judgment saves him. Kevin Parody right now getting hounded by Thompson, and there's Pierce just behind. Pierce, the start, he did not want that front end. You can see it just barely vibrating, but that is the head-on collision from earlier in the race. Steve Davis into the pit lanes, perhaps dealing with the damage he unintentionally got there from Lovering as Pierce sends it down the inside. And that is, oh boy, what has happened in the back? Ronan Mendina. What has gone on here? So let's look at this from the helicam. So this is going to take us quite a ways back. So up ahead, we do have Thompson getting this move done. So that move is done and dusted. It looks like Ronan Mendina just didn't brake. And Darren Wicks getting shunted. So that is not good at all. Those drivers going to have to sort that one out, but what has to still get sorted out is P17, as Hasser and Parody continue to argue about this. There's Pierce, though, down the inside on Dave Hasser, but he's going to be on the outside for the subsequent corner. That could invite Thompson back into this. And look at that, Kevin Parody getting out of there. Dave Hasser is on the inside, or on the outside, rather. There's a bump there onto Pierce, possibly accidental. Hopefully not deliberate, but Pierce, though, picks it back up. Is in P17 now. Dave Hasser just bleeding positions at the moment. Battle still not done. Fabio Patal on his way out. Darren Wick still in the pit lane. Dealing with damage, of course. Skylar Lovrink is sitting down in P24 just because of that very early pit stop. Behind him is Fabio Patal and Colin Johnson. Right on board here with the Porsche, looking down the inside into turn number 1. Patal not even going to put up a fight, just going to let that Porsche through, although they're maintaining side by side. You can just barely hear Patal on the left, and a switchback move for Colin Johnson. Could this be another dive down into turn 3? No, it is not. Decides better of it. Possible switchback again. Breaks early, trying to get a better drive out of the corner. Patal completely compromised on exit, but maintains the inside. Down to turn number 5. Colin Johnson trying to make this work around the outside. Is he going to do it? Yes, he does. Beautiful move there. And has the inside for the next corner. Colin Johnson up to P24. Still has quite a lot of work to do. Lovrink got ahead of Patal. Didn't see that. Dave Hasser door-to-door here with Braden Thompson down into turn number 1. Dave Hasser breaking a little bit later, it looked like. And just up ahead, Pierce starting to deal with Kevin Parody. But these two BMWs maintaining side-by-side action here down into the subsequent turn number 3 and for the inside line for Thompson. But he is just going to back out. Dave Hasser winning this one. He is going to carry on, no questions asked. We look at Kevin Parody. Uh-oh, has Pierce gotten around him? Yes, he has. Well, we were focused on that. Pierce made it work up to P16 for the Aston Martin. Still dealing with the damage from earlier on, so that'll get sorted out during the pit stop. Not quite the charge we saw from Vining, but still a very good one. We hop here a little further ahead. Eric Mahoney with Baba Let's behind him. As we head through Schumacher. Again, that little bit of a lift is going to be what you need to pull on through. And Mahoney does get it better, although he just sends it right over the inside of the corner. That's going to throw him way out wide. Baba Let's just sidesteps and pulls ahead into P13. And Wilson as well getting in on this. Now, he does have a superior car compared to the Bentley, and you couple that with the slipstream. This could be an attempt down into turn number 1. He is really just making me stop talking because it just goes way too over the inside. And that'll put him a ways back. Really just making sure he gets that higher speed acceleration underway, and he does. 7/10 though, he's just barely outside of the slipstream range. Dave Hasser into the pit lane for a pit stop, it looks like. And now Wilson has a lot of work to do to catch up and regain the ground he just lost. Perhaps got a little too nervous going into the chicane and had to back out, but he's done a very good job of catching right back up. Baba Let's struggling to get these two out of his rear view now. With a possible battle coming up, and there's Pierce as well getting into the mix soon enough. So this, for the number 316, could be exactly what he needs to start building that gap if these three start battling over positions. But Eric Mahoney, last lap for him, a 58.97. Wilson's was a 56.9. Or no, sorry, it was a 58.0, so 9/10. Even with that mistake, almost a full second ahead. And then Thomas Pierce's last lap, a 55.64. So doing far more than either of these two currently could imagine. It is going to get spicy here, I think. In a couple of laps, Wilson, though, is going to be the first target for Pierce. Try as he might, he knows that is a pro driver, one of the best here in North America, hunting him down despite the slightly stricken car. He's done a very good job of catching up. Thomas Pierce really just trying to maximize as much as he can as Wilson bouncing all over the place. Pierce looks to the inside, has to tuck back in behind though. Now the turbo lag out of the corner here. Pierce manages it exceptionally. Onto the front straight. Wilson, though, picking up a slipstream there from Mahoney, but Pierce is getting a much better slipstream, pulls to the inside a little bit later on the brakes, and does get the move done down into turn number 1. Pulls ahead there of the McLaren, and that is P15 for Pierce, and now he's going to be eyeing up Mahoney for 14th, and then just ahead of them, Let's Bobby really going to bank on these two, fighting for quite a long time to give him a chance to pull ahead. We're going to hop up here into P3 with Nate Lamelin, who does have Wilson Fernandez behind them. The top 5 currently dominated by German manufacturers, 3 BMWs, a Mercedes, and a Porsche. Hamza Golzar stretching his gap 3.1 seconds. His fastest right now is 54.117. So perhaps call John to get in the driver's seat. Don't think we're done with Golzar's improvements just yet, especially as this race carries on. Lower fuel loads means higher speed, newer tires as well, fresh grip. And that could be a 53, probably not quite the 53 we saw in quali, but certainly very close. Mahoney right now, that gap that he had to Pierce has gone down significantly since we checked the last time. It was about, I think, 7 or 8 tenths, and now it's only a quarter of that. It's 2 tenths down as Pierce really just runs this one out wide. But we head on to the back stretch here, up into the chicane. Mahoney parking it in the middle, not really giving Pierce an option to work with. Pierce really thought about a tight window down the inside there, but thinks better of it. Mahoney really just moving this Bowley as far as he can, compromises the entrance. There's almost some contact there, but Pierce tucks in very nicely under that front wing. He gathered it up very well out of the corner. He's going to pull out to the side here as we head down into turn number 1. How brave is he going to be? How late on the brakes is he going to be? He's going to be quite a bit later, though. Down into turn number 1, just parking it on the apex, and Mahoney is not done. He has the inside line for the following corner. Thomas Pierce, he thought he had the move done, but Mahoney tells him to think again, and, well, apparently that thought is a fleeting memory as Pierce slithers on through, and that'll be another position gain for the Aston Martin. P14 for him. Mahoney now has to deal with Wilson all over again. That little oasis has been a mirage for him. So we'll keep an eye on these two. Right back up here with Nate Lamelin. Last lap for him, a 54.58. For Wilson Fernandez just behind there is a 54.59. So a hundredth of a second, if you want to get specific, 12 thousandths of a second between both of them on that last lap. And we'll see just what these last laps are. They're both 2 tenths behind their fastest. So as we cross the line here, Nate Lamelin's last lap here, 154.49. For Fernandez, it's a 154.66. But, sorry, it's a 54.93 for Lamelin, a 54.66 there for Fernandez. He had a slipstream and actually pulled to the outside, surprisingly. Thought he could maybe get it better down to turn 1 and have the inside line for turn 2. But Lamelin, taking the racing line, gets it done beautifully and holds P3 for now. But for how long does he hold it? That is going to be the big question here. Same car, I'd say roughly the same setup. Obviously, drivers are going to tailor their rides to what suits them best. If we turn on the basic HUD, so we see traction control. So this is Fernandez. Traction control 8, ABS 4, engine map 1. Lamelin, TC 6. ABS 3, map 1. Brake balance is a 50.9 for Lamelin, and Fernandez is a 53 flat. So yeah, despite being in the same car, you can see these different setups. Very slight differences, but they can make all the difference in some of these corners. Wilson Fernandez just very quickly falling off the place. There's Dave Hasser just ahead, so he's going to get blue flagged, has to get out of the way. Thomas Pierce is pulling up to Baba Let's Go in P13. Let's Go's last lap, that 57.0. Pierce 8 tenths better, a 56.24. Making a statement. Says, I will go to the back of the field off of my own mistake, but I will never give up. He is looking to the inside. He's later on the brakes. Bobaletsgos has to get out of that one, although Pierce is going to overshoot the corner, but somehow maintains the lead. Incredible. He really just threw the Aston Martin in their last possible second. Bobaletsgos had to release the steering and just concede, but with the slipstream side by side into the chicane, Bobaletsgos is going to back out and just give Pierce the run through, but he will have the slipstream as we head on to another lap here. Lap number 11 for these two. Oh, but Pierce already pulling out 0.8 of a gap. Bobaletsgos too far behind to benefit from that slipstream. But thankfully, he does have a little over a second to Mahoney, so he will not be giving the slipstream either. Keith Briscoe, haven't talked about him in a good bit. P5 right now for 5:01, and just behind him, Jonathan Clifford in P number 6. If we take a quick re-glance at the standings, I don't know where these guys sit overall, but if we look at the Pro-Am category, Fernandez, who is up in P4 right now, 388 points, Clifford 345 points. This is not what Clifford wants. He wants to be ahead of that BMW, get the most points possible. And then Sanchez is at the back of the grid right now because of the spin lap 1 at Schumacher. But despite what's happening, we have to look at Spencer Brown right now with Matteo Sceptura behind in the slipstream as well. Possibly looking for a move into the chicane, maybe thinking better of it. Yes, he does. Knows that this is not the place to go for a move, sending it over the inside on the exit. And there's Dave Passer off the road. Okay, I mean, blue flag rules, that's good. It's a little extreme, but you do you. Onto another lap here. Spencer Brown giving the slipstream over to Sceptura, but there isn't a lot of pace being added on to the McLaren. And that goes to show you, I talked about it earlier, the Audi has incredible exit out of the final corner, and sometimes that's all you really need to nullify a slipstream. Great stuff. But the rest of the lap is where all the time is made or lost. Last lap for Brown, 56.0 for Sceptura, 55.8. So 2/10. How that's going to play out over the course of the race, not quite certain. The gap from Golzar to Flamger expanding, almost 4 seconds between them. As Golzar does get around the Bentley of Rasco there, I believe. Yeah, it is Brian Rasco. Has an early pit stop, so I'm just a few minutes after pit lane opened. So, again, probably doing an extra long stint on the tires, but that is going to be hurting bad, I think, by the end of it. Probably not too bad, probably not undrivable, but definitely getting there. But we remain with Spencer Brown and Matteo Sceptura. Both of these drivers not doing too well over their personal bests. But we should be seeing drivers coming into the pits very soon. And as I say that, Jonathan Clifford decides that now's the time to go in. Oh, Matteo Sceptura really messing up the chicane. And that's going to bring Austin Carpenter right in behind him. If you're Spencer Brown, that is exactly what you've been waiting for. A mistake like that, and you can just completely forget about it for now, because he knows that Carpenter is going to be making Sceptura's life a little bit difficult. Nate Lameland still dealing with Fernandez. The gap has hovered around 0.4 to 0.6 seconds, and their last laps are only about 2/100ths between them. It is Fernandez that wins out on that lap, but of course 2/100ths is really not going to be a lot when you're sitting a little over half a second back. Andrew Wilson into the pits here for his mandatory pit stop. Don't know who else is going to be going in. Check with Sam Raworth. He remains out on track. And then everybody behind Sam, barring Darren Wicks, has already pitted. Wicks in last place despite all these pit stops. Interesting to see what that's all about. Possibly some mowing. I don't know if Porsche makes lawnmowers, but if they did, I'm sure Darren Wicks would be first in line. I would too. I don't know why. It'd be a very odd thing. It'd be the weirdest flex. Now you have a Husqvarna. That's cool. I've got a Porsche. Thomas Pierce with Sanchez there. I thought that was an overtake. I was trying to see who it was, but it was nobody at all. P12, though, doing what he can to recover after the lap 1 spinorama that he had. And is doing just that here. Martin, I'm not going to read your message because I fully am able to caster curse people. And I don't want to do that. Oh, Spencer Brown. I keep forgetting that that first line is not the pit entry line. That's the next one. Spencer Brown into the pit lane. Timothy Flomger in P2 right now just cannot catch Golzar. Let's look at the track map very quickly. So it's not too far back. There's a couple of back markers between these two, but that's just going to be great news for Golzar. Can just carry more points and more speed. Doesn't have to worry about slowing down for anybody. Lamelin in P3. Last lap for him, that 55.05. Wilson Fernandez, a 55.19. So a little bit of back and forth here as these laps carry on between these two. Whatever you gain one lap, you're going to lose in the next lap. And, well, the gap still 3/4 of a second, as it has been for the last handful of laps. Matteo Scaptura has done a pretty good job of not letting Carpenter on through. Another pair of drivers with that 3/4 second gap. Briscoe, of course, quite a ways up the road. Absolutely no problems at all. Scaptura's last lap of 56.05, Carpenter 56.01, so 400ths. Could possibly be seeing Carpenter pulling in, but again, 100ths don't do too much when you're always eternally at a 3/4 second gap, but he's probably going to be waiting on Scaptura to make a couple of mistakes. Maybe running a bit wide, losing a bit of speed, a bit of time. And from there, well, it is going to be open season. Timothy Flomger into the pit lanes as well for his first mandatory stop. And it looks like Carpenter in the back, yeah, ran a little bit wide there. And has lost the time he has gained. And I'll see what the gap is. So the gap now a little over a second. Of course, the broadcast controller just giving relative gaps regardless of whether someone's in the pit or not, or if it's a back marker. So we just had to give that a second to sort itself out. Hamza Golzar getting around Colin Johnson there. And that is going to be a very good thing for him, because you can see the number 11 of Lamelin has 1, 2, 3 cars to get through if he wants to catch up to Golzar, and then the gap up to car number 52, Skylar Loverink, is quite significant. So does not have to worry about that at all. A 54.117 is still the best, and he is consistently running in these 54s. 75 is going to be the first 2 decimals on his last lap. So we'll see if he can maybe barely push that Porsche into the 53s. He absolutely smashed it in qualifying, but of course race pace is very different. Got to be very careful. You can't really send it as well as you would like. Eric Mahoney will right here with him. It's Braden Thompson behind, trying to maybe make a little bit of a gap between the BMWs himself and parity, although Flomger will do that for us. That pit stop, of course, being cleared. Wilson Fernandez into the pits. Hamza Golzar into the pits. So he is going to be getting on some fresh rubber. Nate Lamelin stays on out. Of course, Wilson into the pits. Keith Briscoe passing up the pit lane. Scaptura as well. Carpenter and Lutkis So that look is getting a little bit crazy there on the corner. Thomas Dag. It's so much brighter. Look, the interior Lucas's car is so dark, and then Thomas, great interior, nice and bright. We'd love to see it. Chris Frizza into the pit lane as well. So I believe in the next few laps we should be having everybody getting a new set of tires on. You see Dave Hasser behind. That is not a happy-looking BMW as we go under the BMW Empower banner. And even in the slipstream, Dave Hasser can't do much of anything. Eric Mahoney, Braden Thompson, Kevin Parody gonna get their mandatory stops done and dusted. That is gonna leave Nate Lamelin and then everyone 4 through 9. And then Baba Let's Go's out on track. Ronan Mendina in P16 and Sam Raworth in 19. Those are gonna be the last drivers to get the pit crews out into the pit lane. Dave Hasser looking like he wants to race, but that is not really going to be possible. We'll just check up on Lamelin very quickly as he is heading down the backstretch. So things have calmed down a fair bit as this race is carried on. But the pit stops always going to shake things up a little bit, especially when you get some drivers getting spit out in places they're not really used to. Nate Lamelin decides now is the time to go in. Does Briscoe follow? That is the big question here. Yes, he does. Goes into the pit lane as well. So if Matteo Sceptura stays out, this will be provisional P1, as he is really just missing his brake point a little bit. And that'll be Carpenter into the pits. So Carpenter probably recognizing that the McLaren ahead is not having the best grip and wants to attempt the undercut and really pull some time out. Lutkiss and Dag as well going into the pit lane here. So Sciaptura will be promoted up to a pseudo P1, but will still have to serve his pit stop. Lamelin as well in the pit lane. Briscoe, Carpenter just now getting to his box. Lutkiss and Dag into the pit lane. Pierce deciding now is the time to go in. Probably going to get some of that damage fixed. Baba Let's Go's into the pit lane too. So that just leaves Sceptura, Mendina, and Raworth, who have yet to pit. Oh, and Darren Wicks. Completely forgot about him. Just a little beyond the fold of the scoring column. And Lucas Hamza Gozar still with that 54-1. So we'll see. He is right now on what is a flying lap, and we'll see where that puts him. Currently 3/10, so this would be enough for a 53. How much more he's going to gain? That's the question we have to ask, because this man is a missile. It seems like every single race he is consistently at the front. But he has some other cars to work through before he gets back up to the front. But, well, we're going to see how that all plays out. So you can see, oh, it is up into P2. So Matteo Sceptura right now just heading through the kink on that back straight. And the only car between Hamza Gulzar and your current race leader is car number 21. That is Eduardo Sanchez. So in due time, Gulzar will catch up in no time. And Sceptura does go into the pit lane. Raworth in as well. Darren Wicks staying out though. So Gulzar will get back up into P1 here as he comes around. Sceptura still driving and now gets to his pit box. But Gulzar through the chicane, it makes it look so easy, especially with how quick he is. And I have some very terrifying news. Gulzar is almost 2 seconds up. And what is it enough for? A 54-44. Oh, I was lied to. I feel betrayed. Well, he must have had some off-track shenanigans we didn't quite see. But, of course, this being Gulzar, he's going to find that extra time. And as I said, that he does go wide, so that lap will be invalidated. No fastest lap improvement yet. but he will get promoted up into P1, rightfully so. And we look back to Bobby Bubba Let's Go, Brian Rasco. And the Bentley is going to be a little bit hungry there. P18, and just up ahead is Mahoney, so a little bit of a Bentley sandwich there for Bubba Let's Go's. Through the chicane we go. You can see Rasco. That's the beauty of the Bentley, is some corners you can just abuse to no end. You can get very, very liberal with your track usage. Some higher raised curves that other cars can't go over, you just almost glide over, it feels like. It's a big advantage of the Bentley compared to something like the Mercedes. Rasco did pull to the outside, or to the inside rather, of turn 1. He had that slipstream, but wasn't close enough to make a move. Just has to sit back in behind. Last lap for Bob Let's Go, so 55. That was his pit lap, so that is not good. Oh, I'm here. I'm alive, I think. I'm fairly certain I am. I don't know. Let me try reconnecting. Hopefully we're back. Okay, that works. Let's try this again. Okay, so I'm live on the stream. Hi guys, we're good. Nothing died, I don't know what you're talking about. We're good to go. Things are working out beautifully. Don't know what you're talking about. Shoutouts to Mullick for setting up the reconnect, because we had something similar happen, I think earlier on this season, or it might have been last season, and there was no reconnect function, but he was smart enough to do that. So Mullick, if and when you see this, thank you for that. I appreciate it very, very much, as of course we want to give the community what they want, and that is going to be some high-level racing here. But we carry on. Gulzar still in the lead. Yeah, exactly, BG. Nothing to see. Move along. Don't worry about it. Pick up that can. But Gulzar is on an improvement right now. It is bobbing between 2/10 and 3/10. So this should be enough to see a 53. Again, not quite the 53 we're used to. Gulzar would not be too surprised if he had a race trim and a quali trim. And I'm guessing that's exactly what the case is. As he exits the final corner, he picks up a couple of tenths here, powering down the front straight across the line, and that is a 54.09. Apparently lost more out of the final corner than was expected. And it seems in the time between me leaving this ethereal plane and returning, Ryan Rasco has gotten around Baba Let's Go's for P18. And that's really the only battle we have. We have a lot of drivers within a second, a little bit more. Then obviously back markers. Dave Hasser into the pit lane, possibly for some more damage. Darren Wicks staying out quite a long time, despite being in P27 of 27. Still has 15 minutes to get a pit stop. Perhaps he's looking at that and saying, you know what? I am in last. It doesn't really matter if I get a penalty or not, because at the end of the day, I can't get any lower than the safety car. But we'll see. Maybe he does go into the pit lane as he dips 2 tires into the gravel. Eric Mahoney and Brian Rasco, the 2 Bentleys, and look, Baba Let's Go is just left behind, completely thrown away by Rasco, like a rapper in a trash can. Brian Rasco chewing him up and spitting him out. As Mahoney goes a little too deep into the first corner, does allow Rasco a bit of extra land to work with. Almost going into the side there. Dave Hasser still in the pit lane. Darren Wicks. Oh, sorry. Dave Hasser is disconnected. So Wicks is still in last. Actually, no. Technically speaking, he's not, because DNF. But very unfortunate to see from Dave Hasser. Not quite certain what that is all about. Possibly some IRL stuff. We don't really know. Perhaps there is something in... No, there is not. Sometimes drivers will leave messages in the Discord channels, but not so. So probably something outside of our control, but we don't care about that. We got to carry on racing. Baba Let's Go has caught up. Not by much, though. He's reeled these two in a little bit. Slight battle. He's brought the Mercedes back into the rear view, and as I say that, the rear end stepping out. Really trying to find all the time he can. Making sure he gets his car slow enough. That corner very easy to just get a bit of oversteer, and that be it. And a lot closer now through the chicane. Doesn't get it as well. And again, that's just one of the strengths of the Bentley, able to just overrun these curves like they're nothing, and we carry on another lap. Skylar Loverink, the early pit stop has not really done too well, as he is sitting way back there in P13. Pierce behind him in 14th. Last lap for Loverink, a 55.49, and Pierce has a 55.2 flat, so 2/10. Actually, I didn't even throw 3/10 there. The gap. So Loverink could be falling down into P14 by race end. Jonathan Clifford, I believe, navigating some back market. No, that is Keith Briscoe. So Briscoe doing a phenomenal job of catching up. Last lap, Clifford, 55.06, 54.66 for Keith. That is 4/10. The difference right now off of that lap. But I'm wondering if that's sort of a false positive, as Clifford is getting this last sector tied up nicely. So across line, we'll see what that last lap is, a 55.28 and a 55.38 for Briscoe. So yeah, that might have been some earlier race mishap. Didn't get it all too well. But we sit back here on the rear, I don't even call it a rear bumper, it's like a rear cliff. Just how big this Bentley is. Oh, Rasco getting a little bent out of shape. Almost losing it. Corrects it and gets back out there. Baba Let's Go still trying to find an opening. Nothing has shown itself quite yet. Steve Davis here, P7, as Austin Carpenter behind him, who has had a lap that is 6/10 quicker than himself. So this could be heating up soon enough. Clifford and Briscoe, of course, just up ahead, having a little bit of a not disagreement, but soon to be disagreement. You see Flomger right now getting around Sam Raworth in one of the greatest Ferrari liveries I've ever seen. And just up ahead, I believe it's the back marker. It is. That is Sanchez, just beyond the fold. Sanchez not having a great race here this evening, but still has time for Kyle Lamy next week. A lot of these drivers looking forward to that. It'll be the last race of the season, and then well, that'll be it for the year. We'll have a nice break. Registrations I don't think are open quite yet. I believe those open up next week. I think maybe I think before the race or a little after the race. I have to double check that. But we'll let you know. Not to worry. If you are in the rookie series and you're getting ready to maybe graduate from it and you're looking for something a little bit more intense, a little bit more crazy, well, Sprint Series would definitely be the place to go. But we make it as simple as possible. There's going to be, when we get everything set up for the next season, there's going to be a button that says registrations open. Just click on that, fill out the form, send it in, and give our team some time to get through all of them. We get hundreds of applicants for the Sprint Series, and it takes a lot of time to get through all of them, looking at all of the statistics behind each driver and deciding whether or not they're worthy of getting into the Sprint Series. But hey, if they let me into the Sprint Series, I'm sure they'd let you in, no problem at all. That's why I'm in the booth now. No, I think I did pretty decent when I did my one season in Sprint. One season, and then that was it. I was like, all right, I'm done. Went up to a couple of guys I had raced with in rookies, and I said, hey, is there any room in the commentary box? And they go, yeah, sure. Just ask Mullock. And Mullock said, sure. And now I got the car keys. So We have to look out the back of Mahoney right now as Rasko and Boboletsko's pushing each other as far to the right as they dare. Thought for a moment we could have had 3 wide if things got a little too out of hand. Steve Davis struggling to shake Carpenter. Keith Briscoe doing a fantastic job of keeping Jonathan Clifford honest. Try as he might, Clifford holding on to P5 by a thread. Still has 13 minutes to get it done. His last lap, it was 400ths quicker. But when the gap is maintained where it is, it doesn't really matter. What does matter is pulling out those tenths, and that was where the money is at. Mars Landscape camo. Oh, is that what that is? Oh, man. It looks foresty. I don't know. It's Flomger. That's Lamelin behind. That is Lamelin. Hold on, I completely forgot about this battle. So it looks like the backmarker of Raworth actually compromised Flomger a bit, as his lap is 4/10 slower than Lamelin's. That last lap, that is. So, ooh, it's going to be right at the end. Eric Mahoney still with Rasko. So we have Eric Mahoney and Brian Rasko. We have Steve Davis and Austin Carpenter, Flomger and Lamelin, and then Clifford and Briscoe, sort of. Clifford has been opening that gap up, though. So for him, that's very good news. But we have to get back up here at the front of the field. Of course, Gulzar long gone, 12.9 seconds ahead of Flomger. You can say there's daylight, but there's whole countries between these two drivers. It's insane just how good Gulzar is. That's probably what the G in his name stands for. Incredible stuff from him, worthy of that championship trophy. I don't know if you guys can see it, but Gulzar was just going through the chicane as Lamelin turned the corner. So if that isn't a good indication of just how massive this gap is, I don't know what is. In fact, Gulzar is gonna be pulling up to this little battle here if things really go his way very soon. I doubt it though, but he is a full lap ahead. There is only 3 drivers on the lead lap at the moment. Of course, everybody else has to get sorted out. Nate Lamelin, I think a late lunge there. Ambitious down the inside, does not get that move to stick. Has to slot right back into place, although he's done a very good job of getting some exit speed out of turn number 1 and through 2 as well. 3 is not going to be enough of a move for him. Into 4, thinks about it, decides to stay on the racing line, to stay behind, maybe going to look for something into Dunlop. Late dive, maybe around the outside. Flomger probably thinking about just that. Later on the brakes, Lamelin maybe getting distracted by a bird and almost takes out the Mercedes. So for now, Flomger doesn't have to worry all that much. But who does have to worry is Skylar Lovrink and Steve Davis. This is a lot closer, though. Eric Mahoney, too. There's so many battles going on, and I only have so much camera to work with. Colin Johnson here. Oh, I thought he was getting around somebody. And then Andrew Wilson and Boboletsko's, and even Braden Thompson as well. So this little pack of 3 forming 19, 20, and 21. And despite Lamelin not having the best turn, caught right back up to Flomger like it was nothing. That blunder is absolutely minute and non-existent for this guy in number 11. Just throwing it through the chicane right now. And there's Sanchez right up ahead. So Lamelin could be using this back marker to his advantage. Perhaps an opportunity presents itself as we head on to another lap. 9 minutes to go here in the race. Flomger holding on to P2 by a hair. Gulzar long gone, out of town. Sayonara. Or I guess I should say bis morgen, seeing as we are in Germany. But man, he has just had an absolutely insane start. Has thought nothing of it and has carried on. So we'll be here with Baba Let's Go's because this is going to give us, of course, a view up to Wilson, and then just beyond them, the two Bentleys of Mahoney and Rasco. Same cars, but definitely not going to be playing as teammates. Especially with this McLaren, very quick. Sometimes it feels like it has its own little slipstream in front of it. Of course, giving this slipstream back to the Mercedes is obviously a good thing for 316. But it's just not close enough to really take that much of an effect. So Loverank have a little bit of time up here. Still doing a very good job of keeping Pierce behind for P13. But there's still going to be a handful of laps to go here. Steve Davis as well. Really feeling the pressure here from Carpenter, who has gotten a very good lap. It's only 15 thousandths behind, but that might be some botched opportunities. And that's exactly what happened to Carpenter. Just gets out of the marbles, and there it is. Steps out. And that's Skaptura pushing through, actually. So Skaptura overtakes P8 here from Carpenter. Carpenter, I think, missed his brake point a little bit. Tried to maybe double apex the Dunlop turn, and then just didn't work. He was outside off the racing line. And Skaptura will say thank you very much. Picks that up. And could have Steve Davis there, but that's going to be some work to do. Brian Rasco still hounding Mahoney here for P17. These two have not given up at all. And Wilson and Baba Let's Go's and Braden Thompson. This is a 5-man battle pack here. It looks like you could say that Thompson's a little too far beyond to really have an impact, but even if this group splits up into two, it will be very interesting. BG, I never agreed to give people ice cream, but I certainly will. Brian Rasco out of Schumacher over the gravel, and Wilson tried to go down the inside. There's a touch, and Rasco stays through. Wilson losing another position there as Thompson takes advantage of the situation and just gets onto the inside curb, takes out Baba Let's Go's, and that is disaster right at the end. And Rasco loses another position there to Thompson. Drama here at the end of the race, just about. Nate Lamelin with Fernandez. He's fallen off of Flomger significantly from that last lap. These drivers getting very, very antsy. They want to get these moves done. They see the clock counting down. And it just goes from one battle to another. Skylar Loverank still holding strong there in P13. Has Darren Wicks gone in? Yes, he has. Darren Wicks has gotten the pit stop done. GG's to him. But Loverank, man, really everything he's got to keep Pierce behind. Doesn't really have to worry about the same turbo lag as the Aston Martin, of course, out of some of these corners. But still has to get everything else just right to have this be a significant margin. Loverank's last lap was slower than Pierce, but not by much. 8 thousandths of a second. Incredibly close from these two. Eric Mahoney now dealing with Braden Thompson, who, after the other drivers sort of got themselves out of the way for him, has had a lot of fresh air to work with. Wilson and Baba Let's Go's 23 and 24 respectively. Following Wilson just spinning himself out and Baba Let's Go's being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Both of them getting spun around and losing positions. Thankfully not really collecting anybody else. It was Ronan Mendina and Kevin Parody who managed to squeak on by there. But a lot of these battles are coming down to the wire. Would not be surprised if Braden Thompson chucks it down the inside into the chicane. But those self-preservation instincts kicking in and decides that maybe here is not the place. And, well, the final turn is also not the spot he wants to be in. Braden Thompson in the slipstream. The Boatley, it's probably more like a slip tunnel with how much that thing will just punch a hole in the air. Braden Thompson really taking advantage of this. Mahoney sticks to the inside, sticking to his guns, knows he's going to have a better line. Thompson, though, with a switchback there, does get a slightly better exit, but a slight lift is going to completely make that switch pointless, and that does invite Rasco into the picture, albeit for a moment. Braden Thompson looks down the inside, but it's covered off there by Mahoney. These three drivers really making life difficult, and this might be where we stand for the rest of the race. Johnson as well, quite clear of these guys. Thompson tries to make something work around the outside. We're going to ride on board here with Rasco. This is going to give us a very good overview, almost into the back of the BMW there. Had to stand on the brakes to avoid that collision. Mahoney sticks to the inside. Down into Dunlop. Rasco also thinks about it, and it is the touch. It is the touch. Thompson spinning Mahoney, and Rasco slipping on through to the inside. Rasco to P17. Thompson still remaining in P18 despite that. And Mahoney getting the worst of it. Down in P22. The stewards are definitely going to have a look at that. And we'll see if the punishment is dished out by the end. Of course, shout-outs to the stewarding team for all that they do. It's very difficult to judge some of these calls, especially we saw it with the EU race. Penalties coming in 10 laps after the fact. And that just goes to show you how closely those guys and gals look at it. And right now, Brown does not get the best exit there out of turn number 4. Skylar Lovrink, all the horses under the hood, could get this move done, but is around the outside. Doesn't have enough room, but somehow into the corner finds the pace and gets around Brown cleanly, and now has a bit of a buffer. Thomas Pierce, who is charging up on the Stallion, has to just settle with dealing with Brown down into Dunlop. The final lap for Gulzar and the final lap for this race for a lot of these drivers is going to happen now. Man, what a race Gulzar has had. I haven't even had to talk about him. He's so far gone. Not even worth a mention. Nothing against him, just stating facts. Flomger and Lamelin still doing battle just behind them. That is Scaptura getting around some back markers. So all of these guys, the white flag is out for them. They know that if there's going to be a move done and you're close enough, you got to do it now. Wilson Fernandez with Jonathan Clifford behind. The battle for P4. There is a lot of damage on the front end of the BMW, but Wilson just has to get to the end of this race to get that P4 finish. But of course, it's still a top 5 for both of them, but Clifford wants more. He is out for blood, and this could put him in the lead of the Pro-Am class. As I take a quick look at my notes, Fernandez. Did Fernandez get promoted and I didn't realize it? If that's the case, or I might have misread it, if Fernandez got promoted and the standing site didn't update, then Clifford 100% is in the lead of Pro-Am. We'll have to take a check and I'll report back at the next race. Clifford getting around some traffic there of Sanchez, rather. Man, what a race we've had here. Skylar Lovrink happy to get out of the position, and Pierce has gotten the move done on Brown, and Lamelin, a very late 10-second penalty coming in. How is this going to shake things up at the end? Depending on the gaps, this could be costly for him. No penalty has come through in the channel, in the chat, but as we watch that, it is Lamelin that gets it done. Wilson Fernandez, hold on, wait a second. Timothy Flomger doesn't really have to worry about losing this position, because even if Lamelin gets around him, it's not going to matter. It's going to give him back. How far down does Lamelin fall by the end of this? Out of the final corner, Flomger coming home in a very comfortable P2. Lamelin, of course, can get booted down. That means Wilson Fernandez is going to pick up a podium finish here. Jonathan Clifford will make it P4. Keith Briscoe moves up to P5. And then I believe Steve Davis is not close enough to take advantage of this 10-second penalty for P7, so Lamelin could go down to P6, and it looks like he will. Davis across the line ahead of Carpenter, 7 and 8. Behind them, it is Scaptura getting to the line in P9. There's Sam Raworth, lap or so down, getting that race finished up. Lutkiss into the top 10. There goes Raworth off to another part of Germany. And then it's Thomas Dagg in P11. Skylar Loverink, very good job of holding that P12 at early pit stop. Definitely not what he wanted, but makes it work. Thomas Pierce coming home in P13. And then Spencer Brown in 14th. A late race mishap for him. Not what he really wanted. Chris Frizza out of the final quarter. Braden Thompson picking up 10 seconds, so we'll see how that shakes things up. Chris Frizza in P15, and things got to catch up. Colin Johnson in 16. It's always difficult when people leave because it throws everything off. Brian Rasco will be P16, or 17, excuse me, after that little spin. Braden Thompson, you can see the front end damage there on the BMW. We'll see. So Kevin Parady's going to move on up to P18. Yes, P18. Even though he isn't P18. Because people leave. It's strange. And, of course, Ronan Mendina, very shocking race for him. Down in P19. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for North America tonight here at the Nurburgring. So let's take a quick look at the standings at the end of it all. So in the race, of course, overall, it is Gulzar in P1. Just completely thrashing the competition. Almost a 26-second gap to Flomger. That is insane stuff. And then it's Fernandez getting up into P3 because of the 10-second penalty that demotes Laneland down to 6th. As we see the safety car kissing the wall. Great stuff. In the Pro-Am category, it is Jonathan Clifford on top, ahead of Briscoe and Davis. No penalties there to speak of, except for Braden Thompson, I believe gets pushed below Colin Johnson. And then for the amateur class, Kevin Parody taking home bragging rights. And then it's Mahoney, Raworth, and Wicks, 2, 3, 4. And then, of course, the Simrigs safety car in its own little category. And, of course, one final thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring Season 11 of the Sprint Series. I would not be too surprised if they sponsor Season 12 coming up here in about a month. Of course, they got you covered on everything sim racing related. Australia, New Zealand, no worries. North America, Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, pretty much anywhere else. Send them an email, work something out, and they'll be glad to work with you. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us tonight. There is going to be a week between now and the final race of the season, a super sprint at Kyalami. Should be very exciting, a 20-minute race and a 40-minute race. We're all familiar with 20-minute races. We've all played pubs, and I think we're going to see the same level of craziness in that first race. The second race could send some surprises our way. But until next time, of course, on behalf of myself and everybody here at the OOR, we'd like to thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed your stay. We'll be back next week for the final race of the season. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe, stay beautiful, and we'll see you next time.
Dark wave. Break it down.